Okay, listeners, before we dive in, this isn't a trigger warning per se, because love and sexuality don't need one, but let's just say we got a little spicy on this episode.
Really spicy, actually.
Yes, I will say, if you guys are listening to this with young ones in the car, or if that's not your headspace right now, maybe come back to this one another time or skip this one.
Or if you're my mom, just turn it off.
Don't skip this one completely
Yeah.
if you are my dad or my mom, 100%. Everyone else, enjoy.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Body Collective podcast. We're here to change the conversation about weight. We're going to take everything we've learned about shame, unlearn it, and transform it into a source of power. And I'm doing it with some of my greatest girlfriends. You're going to love them. Who am I? I'm Katie Storino. I'm the founder of Mega Babe Beauty. I'm a body acceptance advocate, and I am the co-host of this podcast.
Hi, I'm Hunter McGrady. I'm a mom of two, a plus-size model, body image advocate, and we are going to dive in.
And my name is Ashley Longshore. I'm an artist, an entrepreneur, an author, and an overall wild woman that loves chicken strips and ranch.
My name is Tracy Moore. I've been a broadcaster in Toronto, Canada for over 20 years, and man, has my body changed over my time on television. Let's face it, everyone. We are in a whole new era for the body. With medications on the rise, people seem to be talking about weight more than ever. But how do we do so in a way that feels healthy, empowering, and informed? In this series, we're chatting with friends and experts to help us navigate the hard conversations. They are hard, so we can listen to our bodies, advocate for ourselves, and feel comfortable in our own skin, the most important thing. So no matter what your journey with weight is, and I know we've all been there, please trust this is a judgment-free zone.
And today we are talking sex, love, and dating with Ronald Young Jr., the host of Wait For It podcast.
Seriously, let's just get into this.
First things first, in this segment, we are talking about dating. We're chatting about how our bodies have affected our love lives and how hard it can be to find your confidence along the way. Plus, tips to make it happen.
Okay, Katie, if this is the topic today, I have to have you share your story. Our audience and listeners really need to hear all the details on how you met your husband.
I absolutely would love to. It's one of my favorite things to talk about. First of all, for anyone out there who is currently dating, I think my number one piece of feedback for people's profiles is that I'm often seeing like a close-up of a face with sunglasses on or a group photo where I can't tell which one you are. So my advice is simple. It is just face shot, full body shot, face shot, full body shot, just so everyone knows what's going on and you can really get the people in who are looking to love you. That's my first piece of advice. So I got divorced and then I got on the dating apps because I had never been on the apps before. So I was like, oh, this is going to be fun. And I was excited. And I had like photos taken. I was just gung ho. I met John, whose name was Frank, on the app. So like just super weird. It was a fake.
That's so John,
right? Like
though,
just
to have his name be Frank on the app,
right? Frank on the app. And we chatted, and then I was like, "This guy lives in Queens. This is not my man, but I'm gonna have him over because it's Valentine's Day." And I deserve something nice for myself. Mm-hmm. So I was like, why don't you just come over and we'll just, meet up because we've been chatting for like a couple weeks. And then I put on lingerie. I lit candles. I had on Valentine's Day, meeting someone for the first time. I had the
as a plus size woman.
And I had the apartment ready and I was like, I'm going to leave the door open a crack. You just come in.
Oh, shit.
I did.
Don't you guys love
Who are you?
I
did.
But
I feel like somebody else is going to walk in there.
No. This is the part is I was like, yeah, this is fine. He was scared of two things.
You're going to be the one.
He was like, oh, I'm going to get jumped. I'm going to walk in and this is going to be a setup and I'm going to get robbed. So that was his one fear. So he was 30 minutes late because he was standing outside my apartment building just being like, should I go in or not? Because this doesn't seem right because girls don't do this. That was like his thought process. And then he got the other thing he thought was, and he asked me this in his accent. He said, "Are you a cam girl?"
Like, do you record it?
Yeah, he thought I was going to live stream this interaction. And I was like, no, I am not a cam girl.
Are you a cam girl?
Yeah, you a cam girl. And then he came in and I was like, okay, is this guy even cute? He was wearing a shirt too tight, said El Capitan on it. It was from the Banana Republic sale rack, and jeggings. Yes. And I was like, okay. But he brought me flowers, which was so cute. And so he came into the room. He goes, his face hits the light, and I see his face, and I'm like, oh, you're really cute.
And you have lingerie on during all this.
I loved getting my lingerie ready for dates. Please. Yes. And I was like, oh, your face is really cute. I really like you. And then cut to later that night, he told me that he actually is going to delete the apps because he doesn't think he needs to date anyone but me.
Oh, Katie, that is beautiful. Were you going through a moment of I am woman, hear me roar? Like to have the door open a little bit.
I was, but that was my dating style post divorce was very much like that. It was a celebration of me.
But I love that because most women, it's not like that. It's I am now feeling defeated. I'm feeling, especially as a plus size woman, and I love this story because when I first heard that, I was like, oh my God, Katie, I would never do this. But you did that and it's so great.
Okay, you guys, I shared my story. I want to know, how did you guys meet your partners? Ashley, how'd you meet Michael?
Well, I was married for a minute.
Oh, tea.
And he was a sweet pea, okay? But also, I told him, we were married for like 9 months, all right? We dated for a little while. I was 30. It was like a starter marriage, you know what I'm saying? But I was like, look, if some things don't change around here, I'm going to be gone. All right. Like, if he got a headache, he would go to his mama's house and get Advil. I'd want to go have dinner, and then we'd end up with his parents. Anyway, he was a nice guy. I'd always kind of been with the assholes. So I told him I was going to a concert, and I never went home. And I met Michael the next day. And I've been with Michael.
You met him at the concert?
No, I went to the concert in Birmingham. I went to go see Josh Rouse. Then I drove back to New Orleans and stayed with my friend. And Michael is my friend's brother. Well, Michael was getting a divorce from his wife. And it was just like, you know what? Oh my God, this guy. Wow. We've been together for 19 years, by the way.
Wow.
But I was like, what in the name of God is happening? And I went outside and I was like, I'm going to lay it on him, honey. Because my friend had a guest house. And I looked up at the sky, and I've asked the universe for a sign a few times in my life. I looked up at the sky and I said, I need you to send me a sign. Universe, send me a sign. And there was the biggest shooting star at that moment I had ever seen in my life. Wow. And I went in that fucking guest house, and it was like, you wouldn't want to have a black light in there the next morning, I'll tell you that.
You never drove back home to your husband?
No. And honestly, I was too much woman for him. He really, I'm very strong-willed, if you didn't know. And bless his heart, he was sweet. Michael is just like, he's wonderful and nurturing. And I have always yo-yoed throughout this whole relationship. Never been skinny, okay? That man, I could fucking cry right now. He is so sweet. He's always told me that I'm beautiful. He's always, when I have felt ugly and horrible, he's been exactly what you would want in a partner.
He's your soulmate.
Anyway, I love him.
Love that.
And he is not skinny either. He's not like Mr. Muscles. I like a man. I like
Yeah.
So
I love that.
I think it's a beautiful thing. I know for me, my weight has fluctuated the entire time. We've known each other for like over 20 years. We've been married for 18 years.
And you've had children. I mean,
Yeah.
We've had kids. I've gone from mid-size when we met to super duper lean and eating disordered to pregnant to plus size to super lean again to plus size. And he's been there for the whole gamut.
All of
and
it.
I always joke around to him that I could come home with like a very low afro, flaming red, and he would probably look at me and just be like, "How was your day today, Trey?" But he'd also be like, "Something's different. I don't know why. I don't know. I can't put my finger on it." But anyways, like he's just that person. And he's the only man I've ever asked out. And look how it turned out. I asked him out.
How did you guys meet?
Where did you meet?
So this is a total nerd reporter journalism story, but you guys have NPR in the States. We have CBC, that's Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. So it's our public broadcaster, and we were both reporters there. And I was actually working my way up to reporter, and I, for the first time in a long time, had no boyfriend because I'm a like serial monogamist. I always had a dude. I was like, I'm going to be single. I'm in my early 20s. I'm going to slut it up. I'm going to sleep around. I'm always going to have a guy, right? Like this was the plan. So I'm at work and I'm in the newsroom and I have a date for lunch. It's this guy named Claude, and he calls me up on the landline because it was those days. It was like 2000, the year 2000. And he's like, I can't make it. And I'm looking around the newsroom like, shit, like I still want to go out for lunch. Yeah. And I was like, do with my little radar. And I saw Leo, and he was over in another section. And I was like, he's hot. So the next time he walked by my desk, I was like, hey. He's like, hi. Like, he's like, like alert.
Of course.
Yeah. And I go, when are you off? And he goes, I could be off now. When are you off? I'm off whenever you're off. Like, I was like, okay, you're here. I'm going to need you here. Like, calm down. I'm off at 4. And he's like, let's get a bite. Let's go do something. And so we went to this bar that was restaurant that was close to our newsroom. And that was our first date. And I remember I went back to his apartment and he was wrestling his cat. And I was like, either he is so secure in himself that he is okay bringing a girl back here and wrestling with his cat in front of me.
Yeah.
And wearing his grandma's like crocheted slippers when we got in. I was like, he's either very confident or very much does not care about me. And it turns out he is just a confident motherfucker.
Oh,
like this guy knows who he is. And that was the beginning of the rest of our relationship. It was a little rocky for a little bit, but it ended up going the distance. So he's the dude. He doesn't care about my body.
I think what you said is so crucial and something that we've been discussing this whole time. Knowing who you are, that inner voice, you knew who you were, you know who you are, he knows who he is. Yeah. So you're together and the weight, it doesn't matter. You're two incredible, self-realized people that are confident you love you so you can love him.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
How about you, Hunter?
Yeah.
I love that. I have a very interesting
I love this story.
So I met my husband on Snapchat, and the way that we got there is he was on a date with a woman, and they were kind of talking about like, oh, what kind of types do you usually go for? And he was like, I love blonde, curvy girls. Like, I love a curvy girl. And she was like, oh, I follow this girl on Snapchat. Her name's Hunter McGrady. She's a model, whatever. And he was like, okay. And she was like, no, you should like follow her. She's so funny. And I think you'd really like her. Obviously the date wasn't going amazing, but so he downloaded Snapchat. He's 17 years older than me. So he did not have social media. He was like, I guess I got to download this now since we're here. So he downloaded it. He followed me for a few months, not just me, but kind of like checked in here and there. It was like not totally on the top of his mind. I had come to New York where he was living on a modeling job. And I had just broken up with a very toxic man. And similar to you, Tracy, I was like, I have to be single for like 5 minutes. Like I have have to. I have to go out and have fun and whatever. So I went to New York a few days early because I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be single in New York. I'm going to slut it up. And I had put out on Snapchat, I was like, what are some fun things to do tonight? Like, where's a great place to go to dinner? He had taken that chance to say, hey, let me take you out for dinner. I want to take you to this place. Come meet me. And I was like, fine, whatever. So I show up, and immediately when I saw him, I was like, that's my husband. Like right off the bat, I was like, that's my husband. He didn't even see me yet. I just saw his profile, and I was like, oh, fuck, my mom's gonna be so mad. I was 22 at the time. He was 38. And I was like, my mom's gonna be so mad. He has a kid. He's 38. I'm gonna have to move to New York, all these things. Anyways, long story short, we shut down the restaurant. We had so much fun together. And we've been together ever since. And when we got married, I did the cover of The Knot. And I did a press tour around it and told this story. And that girl who he was on a date with had messaged me, and she said, hey, I saw you in Good Morning America. I'm the girl who told him to do that. And I was like, bitch, let me buy you champagne. And now we're friends.
Yeah. No.
Wow.
I love that. I love that.
And we talk all the time.
I love that.
Shout out to Riot. Yeah, literally.
And then Hunter, the first day that didn't I run into you in person for the first time when you were moving to New York City?
It was my very first day. I literally had my suitcase. I came with one suitcase to New York City. I was there like one day before I was signing my sublease. That's when I ran into Katie. She stopped me and she was like, hi, I follow you. I had worked on something with her ex-husband a few months before. And I was like, no, I've heard about you. Like, I so nice to meet you. And that was 9 years ago.
Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
Yeah. When we come back, we're sitting down with our guest, Ronald Young Jr., to talk about what we are told is sexy in the media. And we are back. I am so excited to welcome our guest for this episode. He is a performer, a planner, a producer, and a storyteller behind the award-winning podcast, Wait For It, a show for people who think about their weight all the time. Please welcome Ronald Young Jr. Hello.
Hello.
Okay, I want to talk about a topic you explored in your show, Ronald, about what society and media tell us is attractive and how that affects who we want to date and who we think wants to date us. I am going to say that I think that there are more, this is my hypothesis, I think there are more men that prefer curvy girls than are allowed to admit it. Right?
Sure.
I think so.
Yeah.
I would absolutely agree. I feel like in most cases, it's this like unspoken idea probably that's purported through decades and years of ingrained societal thinking that that fat folks generally aren't attractive.
Yeah.
But especially when it comes to like men and their attraction to women, like oftentimes it's like they like a big butt, they like big tits, which is just basically like big, soft, jiggly parts. So why would it not
Speaking
go
Ashley's
further to say that they like a big, soft, jiggly woman? Like, why would that not be? Why would that be unattractive to them?
I don't know. My DMs are full of women who are scared to get on dating apps because they think that no one is going to want them.
Yeah. I think. Well, I think part of the other thing is the way that that women are treated on dating apps, where it's like there's this idea that if you are a bigger woman, that there's an expectation that comes sexually that is like really gross and completely unfair. And I wouldn't want to be on an app either if I were them.
I want to say something.
Go ahead, Ashley. You say something.
I need to say this. I've been with my man for a while, and before that, I was with lots of other men, and I went through a period where I was with some women too, and but let me tell you something. Never, and I've always been curvy with the titties and the belly and all that. I have never, in the heat of the moment, ever had a man that turned it down or didn't want it once my shirt and panties came off. I'm telling you that right now.
Yeah.
Being curvy and soft and beautiful. Also, I mean, let's get it right now. I know this is like the thread throughout all of these conversations. When you are feeling hot,
Yeah.
When you're feeling confident, let me tell you something. You are the sexiest motherfucker on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So true.
I think
All
there's
of
like
that.
I feel like there's like it's a dual-edged sword for me because I found that what you're saying is 100% true. Like, I feel like if you're feeling sexy, it's true, especially in sexual moments. If you're in a moment, everything's hot and going, there's not many reasons to say no in those moments, right? Which feels good. I feel like what I found for me personally is like the idea of attraction and the idea of actually wanting to be wanted. It more often comes in those situations than it comes with me just walking down the street. And what I found is I find a lot of big women just walking down the street as attractive as I find them in the bedroom. I haven't seen that same congruence when it comes to like myself as a fat man. If
What
that
do you
makes
mean?
any sense.
You don't feel like
I'm
you're
saying,
getting
like,
that energy?
no, I don't. I feel like it's not like I feel like there's some incongruence there, both in the bedroom and walking down the street for me. Because I feel like if you said that same thing, because we can all agree that men like fat women. Like, it's not like they're nobody's off the table.
Can you say that
anything
again
like that.
for the listeners?
I said I think we could all agree that men like fat women.
There we go. Okay.
Like, it's 100% true.
Yeah.
Like, there's no caveat to it. The caveat that comes is with what society is still putting forth as what is deemed beautiful, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like when it comes to men, it feels like I know that there's an imbalance with the privilege that men have and what is considered to be attractive. But I feel like in terms of raw animal instincts, I still see a lot of women like really going gaga over Jeremy Allen White's underwear pictures. And I'm like, if Ronald Young Jr. had done that, I don't think it would go as viral.
Ron,
Yes,
can I?
but
Can
same
I?
on the other
can I-
side. Same on the other side. We're seeing all of the thin women get all of the attention. I mean, I think if anything, the top of the standard of beauty would be like white, thin, blonde, and then
Yes.
everything comes from that pyramid.
Mm-hmm.
But I find it so interesting that you would say that as well, because there's a whole dad bod movement. Like, there's
Well,
a whole,
that's exactly. Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but
can
dad
I-
bod and fat.
Yeah,
No.
can I say something, Ron?
Yeah,
I'm
ahead.
going to go against actually what you're saying here, because I think that's the difference between a male and a female gaze, right? So I think that men think that women want the Jeremy Allen White, but I know all my girlfriends, all my model friends would prefer actually the dad bod.
Yeah, same.
I mean, and I have
want a
yeah, but
man.
I don't know what it is, but I think that is the male gaze for the male gaze, right? So like, you guys think, oh, we want this big, I'm not saying there's not women out there who want that, but this big ripped, like, blah, and for us, it's like, oh no, what's sexy? Like a forearm. Right?
Yeah.
Or like a shoulder, or like a big broad man, right? Like that to us, we're like, oh my God. And I think it's flipped also with women thinking, oh, a man only wants a teeny tiny little gymnast blonde girl. And it's like, no, but back to what you're saying too, we're not talking about it. No one's talking about it. So we all think this.
But what I'm saying is, like, I still see the same things. Like, for instance, I think the one thing I've been talking about the most recently is the idea of ugly hot. You remember everyone used to talk about this thing called ugly hot. They'd be like, Steve Buscemi, Jeremy Allen White, all of that. And I'm like, okay, so let's say that that's a thing. Ugly hot is a thing. Do y'all think that is something that anyone would describe a fat person as? They would describe them as ugly hot. And I'm almost convinced there's a certain like size parameter that comes to that.
You're right.
And I feel
I
like
agree.
those are the
I agree.
discrepancies that I come in. And to be clear, I appreciate everyone that said everything about loving big men, all of that. I'm saying the heft behind it or the enthusiasm behind it is what I don't see it regularly, is more of what I'm saying, as to say it doesn't exist. I know it exists.
I want to talk to you about desirability, though, because when you talk about that idea of what people say and what people do, and there being an incongruence between those two things, I listened to the Shame Spiral on your podcast. What an amazing episode. What a full circle moment. So like the onion needed to be peeled. So many layers there. So just for the listeners that are tuning in, do you want to explain what happened in that episode?
So in the Shame Spiral, that is episode 2 of Wait For It, season 1, I take listeners on a journey to a time when I was not fat, when I was in college, and I was dating a woman named Caitlin who was fat. We really liked each other. We're really into each other, but we were just hooking up, and I kept everything a secret because my friends were making fun of me a lot for it. So in the course of that episode, we go over the course of our relationship, and then we kind of flash forward to the future where me and her are sitting down together and we have this conversation, and it kind of ends with a revelation that is, I mean, every time I even listen to that, I get chills all over again. So it's a good episode, but it's kind of a pontification on the ways in which I treated fat folks when I was straight sized, as opposed to being fat and feeling treated differently now that I'm fat and other folks are straight sized.
Now, what I loved about that episode was that it looked at the fact that even if you were tuned in and into, is it Caitlin?
Caitlin, yes.
Even if you were okay with being open about that, the world will find a million ways of telling you that it's wrong. And for you, it was your boys. I've been in a situation where I dated a guy that was much smaller than me and very good looking. And people would just let me know. Like we'd be walking down the street.
That's not cool.
Yeah, like they just in subtle ways, in overt ways, it was sort of like, you shouldn't be with her. Like that sort of vibe that you get.
Yeah.
So what I want to know from you is, do you feel it takes a certain amount of courage to be in those spaces between the external desirability and the internal desirability that you might feel desire for this person, even though the rest of the world is not feeling it? You can live within those spaces, but does it take a certain amount of emotional maturity to be in that space?
Yes, but it shouldn't. Like I feel like this goes into that same conversation that when people call women brave for wearing certain outfits. So it's like, yes, it does take courage to do it, but it's like, but it shouldn't take courage to do it. I'm just wearing a shirt, or I just like this person, or I love this person. It should not take courage to go out there and do it. But yes, it does. It takes a certain fortitude. And the unfortunate part about it is, because of the fortitude that it takes, you could just be going to get ice cream. I just want to go get ice cream with my lady. And now I got to be ready to be like, here goes a dozen looks and stares, and I got to be on high alert all the time. What's going to happen? It's almost like being in an interracial relationship at times too, when you're just like, what is someone going to say about my partner or about me in these spaces where my partner or me may not be accepted? You know what I mean? And it's like you have to gird your loins as you walk out to say, like, this shouldn't take this much effort, but is it going to take this much effort? This idea of like, when I think about, and I guess when I talk to y'all about Jeremy Allen White, this will tell you more about Ronald, which is like the insecurity that I have is that I hear hundreds of thousands of people telling me that Michael B. Jordan is Michael B. Jordan. Oh my God, look at him dripping with the abs and all that stuff. And I'm like, can you give me just more James Gandolfini in a wet shirt? You know what I mean? Can you give me more of that so that I just saw, I don't know if y'all saw this, there's a Verbo ad going around where there's a fat black man taking a shower on a resort. And it's like a raindrop shower. And he's like taking a shower. And then in the next scene, he has a robe on and it's open. And I'm like, yes. Yes. And it's not a joke. It's not a joke. And I'm like, if they gave us more images like that, just of women saying, yo, actually, this is cool with me. You know what I mean? It feels better because I feel like I don't get that type of validation. I didn't mean to take it back to that. That wasn't my intention. I'm sorry.
What are some of the things that you think women who are plus size, who are on dating apps, can do in their profile to not only represent themselves in a not honest way, but just like be who they are? Like what do you see out there? What have you seen out there that women should do or shouldn't do on dating apps?
I feel like in most of the dating apps, I feel like the women that I've been the most attracted to are the ones that look like they're having fun. Because mostly it doesn't really matter. Because I feel like the ones that are boring is just like, here's some pictures of me and some friends, and we're kind of just standing there. Or the ones where everyone has the same picture of the same art exhibit that came to town and everyone took the same picture there. Like I feel like I get tired of those. But what I do like is like if you're laughing, if you look like you're having a good time, if there's one where like even your hair and all that stuff doesn't have to be perfect, but if you're like smiling and happy and there's joy, and this isn't me like saying women need to smile. I'm not saying that, but I'm like the joy is what attracts Ronald specifically, because I'm like, I want to have fun too, so let's have fun. But I feel like outside of that, it's there's a lot of people that are trying to do the angles and the
Yeah.
the sterilized pictures,
Boring.
and that just makes your account look boring and sterile. So I feel like those are things I look for. But also, if I wind up single again, I'm never going to do the apps ever again.
Oh.
The apps are a garbage dumpster fire hellscape, like what is a post-apocalyptic terrible place. Y'all know this is true. I'm not making this up.
I met my husband, on the app.
I'm not saying that people don't meet partners.
Yeah,
I'm
but
just
it
saying,
is-
like, what?
It's a
how
dumpster
many?
fire.
You have to have like 40 horror stories before you got the husband, unless you got lucky and the first one was him.
No, I got some judges. Yeah. And we're back. In this segment, we're talking about how bodies ebb and flow and how we ride those waves. I want to kick it off again with a listener story from someone who went on their own internal journey through age and sizes. And I just really love their perspective on relationships. Roll the tape.
Hi, Katie. My name's Stephanie. I'm in St. Louis, Missouri. I'm 60 years old. Never married, but lots of long-term relationships. And weight has profoundly affected my dating life. I've had men use it as a control issue and hold it over me. I've had men embrace it. I've been told that I was a beautiful woman, but if I dropped weight, I would be drop dead gorgeous. I've had men tell me that they really liked me, but they would like less of me. And I remember being shocked, but still sitting there and letting someone talk to me like that. And I would never let someone speak to me in that form now. I would excuse myself and leave. It's a really interesting journey to get the confidence over the years when you've been told that you were, because of your size was too much, but you were less than. And I don't let people speak to me like that anymore. I'm a vibrant, beautiful woman that works in luxury retail, and I own my own home. I have a lot to offer. So I walk in now wondering, what do you have to offer me?
God.
Nice.
And I own my own home.
And I own my own
flex.
home.
But
And
isn't
that's
this
someone telling you they want less of you? What a disgusting garbage thing
But
to say.
isn't this what we've been talking about? Is that inner monologue? I know I say that all the time, but to get to a point where you're like, I love me. I know my self-worth. This is also why, and I say this all the time, these 20-year-old girls, they put up with a lot of shit. You get into your 30s and you're like, you know what? I know what I like. I know what I don't like. What you'll never hear is a man say, I want to go out and find me a strong-willed, plus-size, 49-year-old woman. Because let me tell you something. We ain't putting up with shit. Do you know what I mean? I know who I am. I know what I want. I'm so happy for this lady. I'm so happy that she figured out how beautiful and radiant and authentic and what her worth is, damn it. Enjoy that house that you worked for. Just saying.
I got to ask, she mentioned, sitting there and taking that type of comment from a man. And I personally have done that over a dozen times, just been sat down and told basically I'm good looking, but I should lose weight because I'd be even better looking. I left those interactions being like, God, they're so kind for telling me that, for being honest.
What?
Is that
really?
Yeah, oh yeah. Oh
that
yeah.
Didn't piss you off?
I was in my 20s. I was like, you're so good for wanting to help me, and I was a size 12.
I was I was not all the way on their side, but I do remember a guy spooning me. Once again, dumb 20s. I just think we're dumb
20s.
dumbs.
Yeah.
A guy spooning me from behind and playing with my stomach and being like, oh, you got a lot going on there. And me being okay with that. He wasn't playing with it in a good way, like the way my husband would now. It was in a, ooh, maybe you need to work on that. And I was just sort of I remember feeling hot with embarrassment, but also not saying anything against it, but also not being happy with the fact he said that, but also not leaving
You're
the
ashamed.
relationship.
You're like, oh my
ashamed.
God.
He made you feel ashamed.
Yeah.
I know I'm not off the hook and having some of these behaviors in the past, but I will say it just feels wild to open your mouth and say that to someone that you are sleeping with, that you are like regularly talking to, like to run them down in that way. It's just like, then you also, how are you not indicting yourself for saying like you're involved in something that is repulsive to you somehow? You know what I mean? Like that's just, it feels wild to do that. There are both paths where you need to walk yourself out of that shame to say like, what is the issue here? But why are you like looking at this person and saying like you would be better if you changed? You know what I mean? Like that just feels
that person is making you an object, not their best friend.
No.
That's not your best friend. That's not your soulmate. No. That's not your person that you spend your Sundays with. You know, that's somebody objectifying you. And I think 20-year-olds, women for sure, maybe we think we're supposed to be these perfect images of what women are supposed to be because that's what we see in the media. And it is bullshit.
It is bullshit. Yeah. We didn't know yet. I want to know what if the shame is not coming from your partner? What if your partner's like, I love your big fat ass. And you're like, no, I'm gross. Don't touch me. What if it's you? How do you find your own spark?
For me, my whole thing has always been about erotica. Like, I feel the horniest I have ever felt. I don't know if it's because I'm in the dirty 40s, but it is about erotica. And I mean, not like straight, skinny erotica. It's usually like it can be plus size erotica, neurodivergent erotica, diverse races erotica. Like, I fucking love.
Drop the recos.
Yeah,
you got some links.
Listen.
Like, where is this?
So many. I have so many, and there are more authors I find these days coming out. I think we all get our sex kink and our like aphrodisiacs from different things. For some people, it's movies and porn. That's not really me, but I want to read it because I am such a book girl. So I have
you're reading books, not listening to stuff.
I'm not even listening to them, guys.
You're reading
them.
It. Wow.
Yeah, like a 98-year-old woman, but
I love that.
hot sex.
I love that. I think I have totally been in this moment a few times in the last few years. My husband, he literally as I was giving birth, he's like, and gaping baby coming out, like vag open. He's like, you are the sexiest woman I've ever seen in my life.
Damn straight.
Literally,
He's not wrong.
Not a day goes by. Thank you, Katie. And thank you, Ashley. Not a day goes by where he doesn't make me feel like I'm the most beautiful woman in the room. And the thing is, though, is that my own shame when I had my first kid and my second kid, how I got out of it was I had to really like date myself. I had to like learn what makes me tick again, learn that this new body, how it moves through life, because it did move through life differently after my kids. And I really think that we all kind of go through that where we date different versions of ourselves. The version of us when we were 20, the version of us when we're 30, the version of us in a relationship and single, after giving birth. Like, we are constantly doing that. And so I've had to get really good at that. And I think because I found myself feeling that shame of, no, I'm not sexy anymore. I'm a mom now. And I have these new stretch marks and I this, that, and the other thing. And so I've had to learn that. I really have. And I've gotten good at it now, over the last 4 years. But I do think it's important as women to make that a priority.
Yeah.
Because we will ebb and flow.
I also think, and this helps me when I gotta get dressed up and go even just be confident in my business, or if I'm gonna lay it on my man, I'm gonna. Well, you know, I'm gonna lay it on him, girl.
We know
that's what I'm gonna do.
Girl, if there's one thing about you, you're gonna lay it on your man.
We gonna get it done. I am not gonna stand in front of a mirror and pick myself apart. I am gonna stand in front of that mirror and I'm gonna find the things that I actually love about my body. I love my legs. I love that my thighs touch. Okay. I love my big titties. I love my hair. I love my I'm going to make a list of what I love. Now, I could also, if I had to, tell you all the things that I don't like about my body. But guess what? That ain't going to get me anywhere. I don't want to be in that headspace. The same way I could tell you why this morning was a train wreck, or I could tell you why it was a great fucking morning. I want to talk about what was good about it.
Yeah.
I do think that type of exercise does help with confidence and good energy.
Yeah.
I really do. I think it's a good practice.
Ronald, what about you? Do you have any tips for dudes?
Over the course of my life, there have been a handful of women who like made me feel sexy. You know what I mean? They just said something about me where I'm just like, oh my God, thank you. Like that really feels good. Most other women have always used phrasing in which like I felt like divorced me from being like a sexual being. And that's what I struggle with every day of my life. They use words like teddy bear, and I'm like, and I'm trying to, and I've been like on a teddy bear world tour because I've been listening to women be like, what are you talking about? I want to bone a teddy bear. I'm like, but just the words teddy bear does not evoke sexuality is all I'm saying. So it's like, I feel like that's the war that I'm having in my mind. And so I feel like for me, like, because there's been like a few women that I feel like have just like really been like, no, Ronald, you are hot. And here's why. Here's a list of reasons. I feel like I kind of have to like tap back into those because otherwise I do fall into the trap of being like, I'm not good enough for any of that stuff. So I feel like I wish I had more tips to say like, this is working out. But actually, even listening to you, I'm just like, it's not even an issue of like, I look in the mirror and I'm like, hey man, you all right? Like, which is fine. And that's not like me saying it's bad. I'm saying like, you all right? But
I'm going to tell you what I told Oprah Winfrey. You need to French kiss yourself in the mirror and then holler, I would fuck me. Now, I didn't say I would fuck me to Oprah because I got scared. But I actually even wear a necklace that says I would fuck me.
Yeah. If it's just me, we good.
Yeah.
But I'm saying like, if there is another person, where's that heat? I need that heat.
You want him to feel the animal.
Lust.
I also wonder how
Lust.
much. I also wonder how much of this is also goes into love languages and speaking love languages. Like obviously, I can tell Ronald yours is affirmations. Mine is
Words
too.
of affirmation. Yes.
Yeah, I can tell you that's your number one. I think that's
time.
Also crucial in a relationship, especially in plus size dating and honestly all over the board, for sure.
Yeah, I gotta feel seen and heard and loved and adored and
Tracy, you brought up
darling.
erotica before.
Yes.
And
you want some authors?
I do want some authors because I want to know where you guys see healthy examples of plus size bodies in media. Personally, I actually wrote a rom-com that is coming out in June of 2025.
Like
it's a book.
Enough.
And I'm so excited about it because it is all about a plus size woman who gets divorced in New York City, gains a bunch of weight, and like totally, finds love. Do you guys have any examples of great plus size,
art?
Yeah.
Art.
Talia Hibbert, guys, that's the author I definitely recommend.
Okay.
It's always very diverse in every way you can imagine. I think all of her protagonists are plus size women, fat women. There are fat men. But Talia Hibbert has like a bunch of titles. Olivia Dade is another one. Some of them good. Some of them I got a little, I don't know if I like that portrayal, but she's got a few good ones. Julie Murphy as well has a...
Yes, I was going to say, If the Shoe Fits. I love that book.
If the Shoe Fits. That was a good one, right?
Yeah.
So they're out there. They're not as plentiful as they should be, but they're a good start.
At what point are we just going to start celebrating our individuality and the idea that we're all so different and authentic and fucking gorgeous? I hope that social media, the good part of it, will lead to that in the next decade. At least just the idea that we're not all the fucking same. Yeah. How boring
But actually,
would that be?
do you feel like we're moving away from that right now? Because I feel like that's been my biggest fear is like Ozempic and post the pandemic.
Ronald.
All that stuff. Like we're in a different world now.
Ronald, I am learning so much by being a part of these conversations about what I don't know. Yeah. And about myself, about how I feel about things. I guess live in my own little happy, optimistic, joyful bubble.
Stay there.
Please.
Don't
leave. There.
Don't
come out. Yeah, stay where you are.
I don't understand when people are mean. I don't like you. We were talking about something on our last recording, and I was like, what? Well, I just things that just shock me that I've never even thought of before. for. Like I just want to celebrate how different and unique and beautiful and special we are. And if we know how special we are, then we just shine, man. We shine. And that is sexy. That is hot. That is joy, you know? And it's magnetic. It's magnetic.
Yeah. Ronald, thank you so much for joining us. Can you tell us where people can find you?
You can find me primarily on Instagram, but also on Threads, X, which I don't believe in that, but also on X and TikTok at Oh It's Big Ron. That's at OHITSBIGRON. And you can check out my podcast, Wait For It, WEIGHT, available everywhere you get podcasts. And I'm also the host of Pop Culture Debate Club from Limonada Media, which I just took over as host there. So please come listen to us as we debate all the popular pop culture topics. Thank y'all so much for having us.
So cool.
Thank you, Ron.
Big Ron,
Thanks,
you're awesome.
Ronald. Thanks so much for listening, and to so many of you for sharing. And thank you to my fellow collective members, Hunter, Ashley, and Tracy. We hope you learned a few things today, and you can keep unlearning with us this season. We want you to feel good no matter what stage of life you're at or what size you're wearing. We all deserve love, pleasure, happiness, and that can be with just yourself or with somebody else. And you can still share your story with us. Find a link in the show notes. Oh, please do. So please join us in the Body Collective Club. Keep listening. Give us feedback. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye.